Do you want to create extended, awesome picking lines that combine multiple scale sequences? Stay tuned because I've got the sequence of doom for all you shredders out there, plus some developmental ideas for the folks at home still putting things together. Also in this video, I'll be doing my first giveaway. So welcome to Guitar Alchemy number 8. Roll the shred lick of doom and let's begin. Today's topic is scale sequences, and I'll be breaking down the sequence of doom you just heard very soon. If you're more of an intermediate player, stick around because I've got some ideas for you to get started with sequencing in some achievable ways. First, let's define scale sequences. The easiest way to think about sequencing is that you're moving a musical idea through a scale, whether that idea is based on 2 notes, 4 notes, or a more intricate melody or ostinato. The main etude from today's video contains 8 pieces of information if we break the whole thing down into chunks. Can you hear all 8 when you listen to it slowly? Here it is at 100 BPM instead of 190. As usual, the PDF, Guitar Pro, and backing tracks for this lesson are available in the Guitar Alchemy Extras folder linked below. Get everything from every lesson I've done in this series for just $3. Now, before I go further into the sequence lick of doom, let me give the developing players out there some concepts to get started with. So here's an A harmonic minor scale pattern I'll be using to demonstrate 3 ascending sequences, 3 descending sequences, and a couple of combinations of all of them. These are all tabbed out in the extras folder too, and most of the time I'll be using just 4 strings to keep it simple. The first sequence is what I call upward descending seconds. So I start on the 2nd note of the scale and go down 1 note. Then I go to the 3rd note and go 1 down. Go to the 4th note, 1 down, and so on. Right away, this breaks the up and down sound of practicing scales. The next ascending sequence is called diatonic thirds. This is another leapfrog sounding idea, and in this one I'll be playing the 1st and 3rd notes, then the 2nd and 4th, 3rd and 5th, etc. So it's like each note of the scale followed by another note a third higher. For the last ascending sequence, let's do ascending 4s. This idea literally starts a row of 4 notes from each degree of the scale. For the descending sequences, we're going to look at the same 3 ideas, just applied in the opposite direction. So in succession, these are downward ascending seconds. So the seconds will go upward from each note, but down the scale. Descending thirds, so we'll be leapfrogging downward. And descending 4s, so we'll be playing a row of notes downward from each degree of the scale. Once you've memorized these sequences, you can start practicing combinations of them that switch at various points in a steady line. Start with just a couple of strings and play around. Here's an example containing downward ascending seconds, ascending thirds, and ascending fours on the D and G strings of the A harmonic minor scale. Now here's a longer phrase with 4 strings and both ascending and descending sequence combos. You can practice this in pieces according to the sequences labeled in the tab, but the idea is to connect them and get a steady flow when you're ready for it. Okay, so I'm going to break down the sequence of doom now for the advanced players, or those aspiring to be. For the picking, I'll be using Yngwie compliant pick strokes according to the method taught in my Neoclassical Speed Strategies book. Now, I promised a giveaway for this video, so here it is. If you'd like to score a copy of Neoclassical Speed Strategies, plus a download of my original Yngwie video course, simply leave a comment below telling me what your favorite sounding sequence is. I'll use a random comment picker at 6 p.m. next Tuesday Aussie time to select one person for the freebies. Okay, let's shred with the intro picking lick. Here are the 8 sections I think about when playing the sequence of doom. Scale-wise, I'm mixing E Phrygian and E Phrygian dominant, so you'll see intermittent switches between G and G sharp notes, and sometimes both in a row. The first sequence idea isn't one of the regular ones I explained earlier, but a little zigzag pattern that has kind of woven its way into my playing over the years. It's a diagonal Phrygian dominant pattern with a 12-note phrase played with one-way economy picking, so ascending only. I play that chunk 2.5 times on ascending string groups until I reach the 12th fret of the B string. That's where my next sequence will start. From that same B note, I played descending 4s with a symmetrical shape made up of frets 12, 10, and 9 down to the D string. So listen out for that sick chromaticism as the 4th, major third, and minor third intervals kind of weave in and out of each other in the line. My next sequence idea starts on the high E string, so I use a straightforward scale ascent with economy picking to get from where I was into the new segment. I bundle the next 2 ideas together in practice because they're both based on 4s, but I'll explain them separately. We have descending 4s on the E and B strings, and the most important thing to note here is the unorthodox use of pick strokes and slurs. Next, we've got the single string run. So the ascending 4s on the high E string are displaced with one note in front, and that syncs up each position shift with a downstroke. This is the only part where I use the G natural note exclusively instead of G sharps. That high C note is actually the start of the beginning of the end of the lick, really, and it's here where I begin an 8-note motif that I go and repeat on the B string. Mechanically, for the rest of the lick, I use regular alternate picking as well, using ideas that do fall into Yngwie's fusion of picking concepts. From the G string down to the A string, I switch to a sequence of downward ascending seconds in the Phrygian dominant mode once again. The 8-note motif we played a moment ago on the E and B strings reoccurs on the A string, followed by a little tail on the low E and that chord fragment to finish it off. Let's recap the whole thing at a medium tempo, and this time I'll give you some close-up vision of the picking hand before we speed up again. When you first start practicing scale sequences, they will sound and feel kind of like exercises. But that's okay, because exercises are great for internalizing new ideas. The trick is to avoid having them sound generically applied in your solos. In other words, they become too predictable after too many steps in a row. Even a non-guitarist can recognize pattern playing, so it's best in the long run to try and subvert the listener's expectations by breaking the sequences, combining them in less predictable points, and coming up with your own little inventions that you can run through the scale. Don't forget to leave your comments below, subscribe and share this video, and hopefully I'll be sending you this week's giveaway. So here is the etude, again, the sequence of doom played up to speed, and I'll see you next week.